Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come on inside, come inside. My name is Bradford Ben. I am here at AVNation Studios here at InfoComm 2021. I'm joined by Evan Hall, the Chief of Big Ideas at Foward Thinking Designs, to talk about some of the things that are new. Plus, we're going to lampoon a couple of mutual friends we have, so you definitely want to stay tuned for this. So Evan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, because you'll probably tell better lies than I will.
Yeah, no. And thanks for having us. So Evan Hall from Foward Thinking Designs. We are a design firm, a programming firm, a commissioning firm. We were all technicians in the field, and we said, you know, there's a better way to do all of this stuff. So we started up a company kind of focusing on the things that we struggled with in the field, and have blossomed from there. We're 32 people. We've got a pretty big team, and we've got some really crazy smart people, and we do some really fun stuff.
And the most important thing, you have an office dog.
We do. We have a little dog. His name is Cusis, named after our favorite product. You know, there's days where he doesn't compile well, and you know, it happens.
That's a good way to put it. I'm going to remember that one. I know you're here in Orlando, so it's been a huge trip to come here to InfoComm.
You know, it would be easier if it was out of town. I got to be honest. Then you just wake up at the hotel, you just hop into an Uber, but no, now you got to get in your car and you got to kiss your family. It's a thing. It's a thing.
I actually am staying at a hotel.
There you go.
I've learned. I fully understand.
Yeah.
Also, if you notice, since we said we're going to lampoon it, that's the whole reason Don moved back to Indiana.
It really is. It really is. His wife's like, you know, if you're going to work, then you know you need to work, and I need to be here at all times.
So, what is the big new thing that made you get out of the office and drive all the way to Orange County and pay through the nose for parking?
So one of the things that we're launching, our biggest thing this year is a plugin called Trace for the platform QSC, QSys. And we, as commissioning guys, one of the things we put in all of these speakers, and then we have to tune them. And that tuning process is brutal. It usually it's two laptops on a cart with the preamp and all of these things. And we've gotten better over the years. I mean, we know, to use Dante right into a laptop. Okay, cool, that got rid of our preamp. We still have to have a microphone preamp. And I mean, it's all these bits. And we do a lot of specialty projects where they're, attractions or they're, experience centers where they just don't have necessarily the money, or they want to put infrastructure everywhere for us to get audio just for tuning plastic speakers. But the fact of the matter is that we want to tune every speaker. We want a consistent, frequency response from door to door and SPL and all of those things, and we got to use tools. So what we decided to do was one of the things that we were struggling with is how can we make this scalable and easy and tie it in and do everything that we want to do, but in a much more efficient way. So what we did was we took the API that Rational Acoustics developed for their end users and other manufacturers, and we sat down with them and we went line by line and said, hey, these are all the things we want. We went back and forth a couple times. We found some bugs. They found some bugs. And what we've come up with is a really, really cool plugin that essentially gets installed into every core on a campus, for example. So if you've got a higher ed, or you've got a cruise ship or a theme park, I can put one version of Smart running on one machine somewhere on the network. I can get some I/O into a core. Once I've got that I/O in that core, I can put it anywhere on the network. And now I just go to core to core, load that design, put in my API key, and I've got Smart running in real time inside QSys. And then what's even cooler, because we can't just stop there, we've added the functionality of, you name your EQ, you name the delay in the file, and then it brings all of the filters and all of the controls of those components that are buried deep down in a file right to your screen. So I'm tuning speakers and delaying them all on the same screen, same UI in real time, and I'm essentially can do it all over Wi-Fi at the end of the day.
So I'm crying on the inside because that's like 5 years of my life you would have saved. The amount of time I spent either designing custom UIs for manufacturers or just moving everything around all of a sudden became a whole lot less time consuming. So it's definitely something cool. Also, because I have the rule of you can't use a 3-letter acronym without defining it. API is automated programming interface or automatic programming interface, depending on who you ask. And just in case, I/O is input and output. These are the
Yeah,
rules.
no, absolutely. These are the rules.
And I wasn't going to interrupt you. Now, I know that is the new shiny plugin.
Yeah.
First question is, how powerful of a core do you need?
So, shockingly, here's the shocker. The shocker is it runs hands down the best on a Flex, on a Core Flex, which is their entry level corporate. When you look at manufacturers, you look at the computers, every time they come out with a new computer, it's faster than the last one, right? So, it runs believe it or not, it runs the best on that, just because of the processing cycles of that chipset. It runs just the same on a Core 510, and it runs not so well on a 110. And when I say not so well, it completely runs fine, but we've throttled it back a little bit because, ultimately, these projects where we're doing lots and lots of tuning, a lot of places we're using Core 510s, we're using the processing power of the larger cores, but those flexes, conference rooms, you could tune a conference room in 5 minutes. And that's ultimately was one of the goals, was like, there's a lot of people who just go like, it's a conference room and we're gonna keep just, why would I do that? You know what, it takes 5 minutes at this point. It's so easy and fun that like, why not do it?
No, I'm fully with you. I, at one point, time aligned or time compensated all the way from the external speakers on an arena to the center cluster because you can.
Yeah.
You should make it the best.
Exactly.
So that's the new one.
Yep. So the new one. So
I'm going to ask you, and this is probably where you were going, for those who aren't familiar, what other cool plugins and problem solvers do you have?
So like I said, we've built a lot of stuff for us that we think is really cool, that we have found other people in the industry who are like, you know what, I have this problem every day. So paging is one of those. We've spent a lot of work working on just a really, really awesome interface for paging. Paging is complicated. It kind of varies from client to client. So we've made it very, very flexible to be able to have a touchscreen paging solution that plays back spiels, plays back live, select these zones and then take that, and I can see when someone's paging in a different zone. It really is comprehensive, but ultimately it's very, very easy. And the biggest thing, the coolest thing about that plugin is that you change everything in real time and runtime. So I deploy the file and it's live and I'm making changes. I'm adding buttons, I'm relabeling, I'm changing colors, I'm adding groups. I can pretty much just operate everything I need to in runtime. So if you are a guy who has done a lot of paging with QSC, you realize that every time you want to change any of those things, you've got to stop it, you have to recompile it. And on large systems, that takes time, and time we don't have. And you've got a client saying, I need to do this right now, and I can absolutely do this while the system is live in front of guests. And that was huge for us. So the paging is we've added a couple other things. We've added on the functionality of the Alcorn paging panel. So they've got a V4, a V16. You just select that and say, this is part of my paging system. And it utilizes all of that power on the front end to essentially drive that device on the back end. Same thing with the Aterotech Zip 4. So we've taken some of the hardware components that are out there and really souped them up and kind of tied them together with a touchscreen interface for advanced control, and then just a tactile, here's a button and a mic, and I'm off to the races.
And you and I are showing our age by still calling it Aterotech. Now they're part of QSC,
yep.
For those who aren't familiar. And I used Aterotech for years when I was working for another manufacturer building paging systems. So I'm here behind the mask smiling going, once again, I would have had hours of my life back, if not days, and I might have had hair.
Yeah. And then one of the products we launched right before the COVID shutdown was an SPL logger. We have a lot of clients saying, we need a way of just monitoring SPL over long periods of time. We need some accountability. We need, our technicians need to be, they need to know kind of where the guardrails are. We need management to kind of know where the guardrails are. So essentially, we've built some really cool SPL monitoring that logs over time. That was something we launched right before COVID, which was very interesting because it springboarded us into a market that we didn't think we were going to be in, which was the sports market. So essentially, when the replication of crowd noise was introduced during the football season during COVID, we deployed SPL Logger in numerous places. And essentially what that did was it gave the home team and the away team both the understanding of what the crowd noise would be played. So it was essentially constantly monitored, and it was constantly documented as far as, this team played it louder, and there was some accountability. And that actually was used in a couple different litigations as material stating that here's what it was at this time, to try to keep kind of everything on a level playing field. So.
And having been around a little bit, the thing I'm going to point out is these SPL monitors and loggers and some of these paging stations, they're problem solvers beyond the large format. The thing I use is I spend a lot of time covering houses of worship. I know it's a little weird, but the amount of being able to have that logger to make sure you're staying at a safe level is a great tool. So don't just think, this is only large stuff. It scales very well.
Yeah, I mean, and we actually found a lot of feedback coming back, just people have different opinions of what SPL is, and that kind of is a much larger discussion, and just starting to see some of that data and understanding and helping some people who don't quite understand that, SPL is based on frequency, and there's a bigger understanding, but those are great talking points, and it really has opened up a much larger conversation. I mean, especially even in House of Worship. We've had some of those conversations, and they've gone really, really well, I mean, it's good to have the data. Data rules,
Data is a beautiful thing. So, sounds like it's going to be exciting. Obviously, people can come see you at the show. I'm going to come by and have lunch at some point. They are here in Orlando.
Yep.
They're actually about a mile from where I used to work. But where else can people find you who don't know how to find you already?
Yeah. So, visit our website, forwardthinkingdesigns.com. If you ever have any questions, you can email me, Evan, E-V-A-N, at forwardthinkingdesigns.com. You can email Cusis the dog, Cusis the dog at FTD, or you can certainly reach out to our sales team, sales at Foward Thinking Designs as well. We got a whole team who'd love to help you.
No, appreciate it.
We get super excited about the things that you don't like.
Problem solvers, making my life better, which is the entire purpose of Pro Audio.
Yep.
So, appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to catch up.
You too.
And have a good rest of the show. For those of you following along at home, thanks for watching. We'll be back in a little while with a few more highlights from InfoComm 2021.